And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Connected for Real podcast. Today with me is Ariella, and I'm so excited because I love Ariella. We're going to talk about perfection and you. Ariella, introduce yourself, and then we're going to get right into it.
Hello and good morning from Israel right now, or it's morning, so whenever you're listening. My name is Ariella Zeitlin. I am a singer and violinist and performer and storyteller, and I just got back last night from a concert tour in South Africa. And I've been doing a lot of performing around the world, which is very, very cool. And so when Bat-Chen asked me if we could talk about perfectionism, I was like, oh, I have a lot to talk about. So let's get straight into it. Bat-Chen, should we tell everybody how we know each other?
Sure,
I
go
feel like
for it.
yeah, let's kind of get into it. So me and Bat-Chen used to be neighbors when I first got married, and she was kind of a little bit further along that motherhood journey. So she was my guru. She would like taught me everything. She said you have to go swimming and you have to do water aerobics and you have to, if you want the baby to get out, you have to walk. and and then she was there at my birth, and she came with me to the birth of my first daughter, and she came with me to the hospital. And so I mean, we've been connected for real for a long time.
Yes.
That I mean, my daughter's 14 now, so it's just crazy like how time flies. Yeah, so that's how we know each other,
Thank
and
you.
that's who I am. And let's talk about perfectionism, everybody.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me just give you a little bit of a background. My podcast is built of four pillars. Not only my podcast, my entire business, my whole life is structured on four main things. So God is at the core, marriage and business are always working together, or at least we're striving for that. And then you are the container of all of it. So, God, marriage, business, you are the four main things that I talk about. And I want to make sure that they're all addressed because they're the things that have to always be addressed. And
Absolutely.
so my podcast is built like that. So the entire month we've been talking about perfection. The first week was perfection in God, and you can go check that out. It was an amazing episode. Then we had perfection in marriage, and then we have perfection in business. And this week is perfection in you, and you're sort of wrapping it up for everyone
Okay.
because there's so much to say about perfection.
Oh, we weren't gonna like touch on all of them because I've got so much. I've got so much. I've got so much
Go for it.
on all of those. So, you know what, before I get to me, why don't I kind of talk a little bit for a second about perfection and God, because I think that I grew up in a very, very Orthodox community, and I am a very out of the box thinker and very creative and very not standard. And because I mean, and I would even say that I'm on the spectrum of incredibly brilliant. Um, but growing up, I always felt like I don't fit in, and it's bad that I don't fit in. And I always was kind of ashamed when I would forget things, or I didn't remember, or I did something that was wrong. And and it ended up making me leave religion when I was about 11, deciding, that this is it. I mean, you're at that age and you're just thinking everything is black and white. And I've had a lot throughout the years. I've had a lot of shame that had to do with the fact that I'm not a perfect Jew, that I would not remember things, or I'm not good enough. And then me and my husband were put into a Jewish leadership role where we moved to Herzliya, and he's in charge. And I was like, well, I can't even go near that. I can't be involved in that because I'm not a good enough Jew, because I just felt like I'm not a good enough Jew. And what's funny is that over the past kind of 5 years, as I went through a lot of therapy and a lot of coaching and a lot of self growth, and like going really deep with my own like relationship with God, and all of that. And I realized that being an imperfect Jew is actually way more impactful than being a perfect Jew, because I look at kind of these people who are perfectly coiffed and they speak so perfectly, and they're just not relatable for me. I can't relate. So I look at myself now and I think, wow, what a gift I am to other people when I say I'm not a perfect Jew, and you're all not perfect, because none of us are perfect. So even the people who look from the outside like everything is together, then there's often other things because we're not supposed to be perfect in this world. So I'm actually coming out now with an album in mid-February, which everybody's gonna love. It's like all new songs, but it's a lot of that, of the I'm here and I'm here and I'm here to serve with what I have. And a lot of, mantras and manifesting and good messages that we want stuck in people's heads, because that's essentially what a song is. So that's God. That's the
I
God
love it.
thing. And then why not? I'll talk also about marriage, is that I am married now for 15 years. And there's definitely that aspect that I always thought, like, this is what a perfect wife looks like. And I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of being a perfect wife and that being somebody who is in service without thinking about themselves. And I think that a lot of women can relate to that and can relate to the concept and the idea that they kind of lose themselves in motherhood and in marriage. And it ended up making my life hell, because when you're not recognizing yourself as a separate being and as a complete being, you're not acknowledging your own needs and your own desires, then you end up angry and resentful and mean and even abusive. And I that really kind of set me into this spiral which sent me to therapy in Corona times, because I was like, what, like I've become a person I don't recognize. I'm yelling all the
Right.
time. I'm angry all the time. I was even hitting my kids. And I would say terrible things to them, the way that I spoke to them. And I was like, who am I? Who have I become? I was this person who's full of light and happiness and joy. And now I'm a mother, and now I'm like a bad word. I was gonna say no. Bat-Chen said no cursing. But I was like, I really became a person that I didn't recognize and I didn't like.
Right.
So that was really what sent me on a kind of a healing journey. And today I can say, okay, our marriage is probably different than everyone else's marriage. It fits, totally differently. It looks totally different, and we're figuring it out, and we're learning to balance, because I've chosen to live out this life with this person, and he's had to learn to live with the fact that if I'm going to be a happy and fulfilled person, then that also means that I'm not going to be at home, and I'm not going to be that woman in service. And that has been like a juggle, because that's what he grew up with, as that was what his mother was like when he grew up. And so that's been kind of a struggle that we're always trying to figure out. But I mean, he's a wonderful man, and we're figuring it out together. It's not like I don't have a partner in this. So that's
Yeah.
marriage. And perfectionism is that there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, and that the point of marriage is that you're saying, okay, I'm different than you and you're different than me, and we share this bond and we share this thing that we've built and we share this family, and let's figure out how we can all get our needs met. And what was the third pillar? What did you say? God, marriage,
Business.
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 Okay. So business, this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today, which I guess we've already kind of started talking about. But my business is that I'm a performer, and my training is that I am a very highly trained classical violinist. So when I was in training, when I was starting essentially when I was training, I always thought that was going to be the business part of it. And when you're in this very intense, very high pressure classical music environment, then perfectionism is literally crippling for everyone. It's, you have to be the best, and if you're not the best, then you have to be so much the best that only the best actually work. That's the way that it works in the classical music world, because there's so much competition, and it's not possible. There's just not enough seats in the orchestra. So it's just this very intense, very high pressure environment. And all the time I was obsessed with perfectionism. And when I started moving into actually making money, which is essentially what we all want when we have a business, then I kind of realized that perfectionism was the opposite of serving me. That perfectionism, when I go into someone's event or concert and I am obsessed with being perfect, then I'm not able to serve. Perfectionism is really a function of the ego. Perfectionism is when I think I have to be perfect, I have to be perfect, I have to be perfect, then you're not thinking, how can I serve? And essentially all of us, every single one of us, that's the way that we're supposed to be in the world. We're supposed to be in this flow state where things are moving through us, and we're here to teach people things, and we're here to share things with people, and we're here to spread ideas, and we're here to spread concepts. But if I stand in front of an audience and all I can think about is how beautiful I have to be and how perfect I have to be, and I can't let them see my flaws, then they don't relate to me, and I'm not serving them, and it's literally the worst possible thing for everyone if I am stuck in my perfectionism. And that's been, I actually had a concert on Wednesday that I walked in, and it was way bigger than I was expecting. I thought that it was going to be something small in a synagogue. You know, he said, okay, we'll have 100 people, but I didn't think that they would put a lot of effort into the production. I walk in, and there's this huge stage with screens and lights and this walkway and like a catwalk. And I had this moment of, I'm not good. I wasn't prepared. This wasn't what I was preparing for. And because I kind of prepared for a fun night where I was going to be entertaining and we were just going to have a good time. And then I was like, well, if it's going to be like this with the lights and the screens, and then I have to be more perfect than I'm prepared to be, you know? And I kind of got in my head, and I did the sound check. And the whole time I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. This is not the event that I prepared for, you know, in my head. Because essentially, when we walk into a space, if we're ever doing public speaking or anything, we have a certain vision of what this is going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to sound like. So then I had to go. I went out after the sound check, and I kind of went into a room and I closed the door. And I reminded myself, I sat and I reminded myself, I said, Ariella, you're not here to be perfect. You are not here. That's not the point here. The point is that there is a lot of people here, and you have so much that you can share with them. If you're get every word right and you sing every note perfectly and you play every note perfectly, but they didn't hear what you came to say and what's in your heart, and how much I have to share. I have so much to share, so much joy to share, so many tools to share, so much coaching to share, that I'm just here as this channel from all the things that I've learned, all the good things that I've learned, all the ways that I've learned to improve my life, all the stories I've been through, because I've been through a lot of really intense things that actually have made me stronger and actually have made me more joyful and actually have, you know, I work with, oh, sorry, I'll get there. So here, like Ariella is ADHD. She's like running off on a tangent, but
we love tangents around here. That's what it's all about.
The point was that I have so much that I can give that doesn't have to do with make sure that it's perfect.
Right.
And I think that actually when it's not perfect, and I said this before, but I kind of want to just kind of nail that point in, because I'm sure that there are people right now who are listening who are thinking, well, maybe that applies to her, but it doesn't apply to me, or maybe, I think that we often do that when somebody says that. I just want to nail the point home, is that as human beings, when we recognize that perfectionism is a function of the ego, and if we want to build businesses, or if we want to perform, or if we want to function in the world, then we need to remind ourselves that where you are right now, with everything that you have right now, you are worthy, you are valuable, you have what to share, you have what to give, and that nothing, you are a created being. This is right, we're talking about this, we are a created being. Nothing that you do will make you less worthy. Nothing. And I think, yeah.
So good. So good.
That's it. Nothing that you do will make you less. You will always be worthy. You are always going to be worthy, whether you mess up in front of everyone, whether you fall on your face, whether you say something stupid, whether your clothing falls off and suddenly you're naked in front of everyone. I'm just, that's, a nightmare that I keep happening.
Well, now we all know what Ariella dreams about.
I mean, just the point is that we show up to serve. We show up and with our businesses, and we show up to serve other people, and we have so much that the world needs. The world is desperate. You whatever knowledge you've gained, whatever wisdom you've gained, whatever you've picked up, people are desperate for it. You learn one thing and you're like, oh, that's something I'm going to carry around with me. And we have this another ego function, which is that we think that if I've learned it, everyone else already knows it.
Hmm.
Right? I learned a new concept, and for the longest time I would, well, I'm stupid, so if I learned it, then everybody else already knows it. We have this, we're very mean to ourselves. I mean, I am. And I think that, perfectionism comes along with being very mean to yourself, and don't you have to practice that self-love. You have to like sit with yourself and say nice things to yourself, and just, yeah. Okay. That's what.
I I love it. I love it. And it's really beautiful how you touched on all the pillars because it is all so connected and so interconnected and so tangled, Like our relationship with God has to do with how we run our business, and our relationship with our marriage has to do with how we deal with ourselves. And it's all connected so deeply. And the way you said a perfect wife is, the fact that you even have a description or a definition to a perfect wife is in itself going to ruin your life.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Or a perfect Jew or a perfect
exactly.
Christian or whatever. Relate it to yourself, because I think that we all have this concept. And as a musician, I think that because, I was in such an intense environment, it's like, these are the good violinists and these are the bad violinists. This is like the first violinists are the good ones of this. There's so much of that sorting out of this is good, this is bad. This person is, worthy because they've won competitions or whatever.
And
And
I remember when you were pregnant the first time. I love you so much. It's been so fun to watch you grow up. I just have to say that. That
you
first
know
you're welcome. No, but really, it was so beautiful. I remember when you came over and you were like, I want you to be at my birth. And I was like, me? Out of all people in the world? Why does she
me.
want me? And she's like, because you're such a good mom. I'm like, does she really know? And so like it's been so beautiful to watch you grow. And I remember during your pregnancy, you were practicing for hours, like
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
7, 8 hours a day. What was it? I don't know.
Right. So I mean, there's that also, that there's the stories that come from your family, like what happened to your mother and what happened with your mother's first child or pregnancy, or the story that you were told.
Right.
So one of the stories, I mean, one of the things that happened with my mother was that she was in college, and when she was pregnant with my brother, and she never finished college because she went into labor the day before her exams. So I had in my mind, first of all, I dated my husband for a very long time because I said I can't get married until I have my bachelor's degree. It was absolutely no way. I have to have the paper in my hand, because if I don't, then I might have the same, I might repeat my mother's story, my mother's pattern. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was in the first year of my master's degree, and it was all this pressure that I'm putting on myself, because I'm living in this little bubble of a world, which, once you step out of that little bubble, is you realize how small it is. You realize how small that little bubble that you have been living in is. And everybody, there's so much pressure in that little tiny classical world. But then you step out, and you're like, there's an entire world out here. There's an entire world out here. And I want to tell a story about perfectionism, which is, it's just it's just a good story with that connects back to all of this. Is that when I was 22, I got accepted to one of the most prestigious music programs in the world. It's called the Music Academy of the West. And it's in Montecito, California, and Oprah is one of the sponsors, a lot of like big celebrity names, and they fly musicians in from all over the world, and it's like a summer festival, and people come to the concerts and the master classes, and it's a big thing in the classical world, which of course you've never heard of because you're not in that world. But for me, it's like the holy grail of like music programs. I got in, they flew me in from Israel. I went with another friend of mine who was also a student of my professor, and so we get to this program. And one of the things that they had as part of the program was that there's this big museum, and the museum has concerts every Friday. Now, I think that, and you had to sign up to perform at the museum. I think that, they could, maybe 10 people, maybe 15 people. So we all sign up to go and perform at the museum, and we get there, and there's no piano. So some of the people are pianists, so they can't perform at all. But most of the people who were planning on performing were planning on performing music that involved the piano. Like if you play a violin piece, that you have the piano backing you up. So I just remember in that moment having like, let's problem solve. So I said, okay, does anybody have any pieces that they can play without piano? No, no, no. And I had in my mind that I would play this piece that I thought I was very arrogant. So I thought that I knew it, but, of course I have to save myself for the end because the ego, we're serving the ego, and I'm the best, right? Obviously I'm the best. And I've thought of this idea of playing the solo pieces instead of playing with the piano. So obviously I have to be the last one so that everybody remembers me. And also, so I'm so pretty, whatever. I'm just saying that, like, I'm in my ego. I'm like, I'm amazing. So
You're amazing no matter what. I just have to say,
right.
you are amazing.
We are all amazing no matter what. But there's, okay, I'll get into that in a second. Okay, I'm saving this thought, the ego thought, okay? Because I want to finish the story. But okay, so everybody does their pieces, and then I get up last, and I start playing. And after about, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 seconds, I get lost. And also nobody had their music with them, right? Because everybody thought that they were going to play things that they knew. So I get stuck, and I start over. And I get stuck again. And I was like, okay, forget that one. And then I pulled out a different one, a different piece that I was working on, which was, well, it was an Israeli piece, and it was, and my professor afterwards was very angry because he said, that's not ready to perform. But at the event, because I messed up twice, and then I played this other one, everybody like stood up and gave me like a round of applause, and people remember it to this day that I messed up and that I caught it and that I played something else that I knew better. And people remember it. People remember it because when you're in the moment and something messes up and you don't have all the cards lined up and you don't have everything, all your ducks in a row, people are like, okay, that's a real professional. Real professional is somebody who can figure out what to do when the circumstances are not ideal. So now I wanted to say what about the ego and the difference between ego perfection and regular perfection. I mean, godly perfection, right? Is that perfection as a being, we are all perfect beings because we are made in the image of God. We are all perfect beings. Like the fact is that the fact that you have a creative mind and that you can come up with new ideas and that makes you a perfect being because we're supposed to be in process and we're supposed to be learning all the time and we're supposed to be growing all the time. And that's just what makes us magical as human beings. But when we don't acknowledge that there's a source that we're connected to this perfection, that I can be perfect and you can be perfect. When I say only I can be perfect, I am the most perfect. You are less perfect because I am perfect. That is when that's bad. That's the ego that it ends up and it also is a facade because it's not real. It's not real. What is real? When we say I'm connected to source and I'm channeling source and I am bringing all the goodness in the universe in order to share it. But when I am not connected to source and I'm like, just me, I am amazing. I am the best. I am the most amazing. And you all have to come and be impressed with my most amazingness. That is when we will mess up for sure. We will mess up for sure. We will beat ourselves up for sure. We will have imposter syndrome for sure because I talk about this all the time with people. I do a lot of coaching with artists, right? So it's like, I'm an imposter. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And what is imposter syndrome? Yes, on the one hand, you're right. You're flesh and blood. You're dirt. You came from dirt. You're gonna end up in dirt. Like, you're right. You're just flesh. You're flesh and bones. But you're also source. So when you say that, like, I'm not good enough, you're right, you're not good enough. But you know who's good enough? God is good enough. And you know what else is good enough? Is God can send things through you. So if you say, I'm open to God sending things through me, then you're good enough. And not only are you good enough, but people come and they feel the energy and they're inspired by it. And you don't even know what happened. Right now I'm feeling it. I'm in the zone. And I was like, an hour ago, I'm sitting on my couch. I'm so tired from like the trip. I'm surprised. And I'm not even really surprised because I know that I get into this zone where I'm talking about God and I get passionate and things just kind of flow through me because these are the messages that the world needs to hear from me. But I don't think, oh, these are my messages. It's right. Me. It's the things I've learned. It's the things that I feel true to me. So they stick with me and then I share them.
I love how you made the real great definition of godly perfection versus ego perfection, because as soon as you said that, it suddenly became so clear that actually, like you said, we are all amazing.
Right.
You know, when you tell me I'm amazing, I'm like, I know, I love you. You're amazing. But not because you have made yourself amazing, but because you just are. And when you just are, just like you said, worthy, you just are.
Yeah.
And if you just are, then there's nothing that could change it. There's nothing
Right.
that dependent on it. Nothing is going to affect the fact that you're amazing
Right.
unless you block it, which
Right.
is what you were saying. Like, no more God. This is just me now. And then it's like, oh, where's the flow? What's going on? You know?
Where's the inspiration? Where are the ideas? Why is nothing coming to me? Because it's not. It's because I've gotten stuck in my flesh and bone little universe of myself.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. This is so powerful. So powerful. Let's talk about what we do to ourselves when we try so hard to be the thing that we're not. You know, like you were saying, I'm ADHD, I'm all over the place. I go on tangents. I'm like, me too. I don't know anybody who doesn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And we beat ourselves up because for some reason we've been made to feel like it's not supposed to be that way. You are supposed to be a robot. You're supposed to be able to speak without saying or like or anything that doesn't fit in, right? Things like that. Why? Why do we believe that? And why is it so hard for us to just accept ourselves the way we are and use that to our advantage?
Right. So I think that the whole concept of ADHD and not being able to, stick to a topic and kind of going off on tangents, you're right. It's essentially it kind of fits into the ego versus flow. Because if you're in a flow state, then things are just flowing, right? Your mind sends you in this direction. Okay, we're going to flow in this direction. Okay, the ideas are coming this way. We're going to go this way. As opposed to if I am a professor and I have prepared this is what we're talking about today, it's kind of limited. What happens if you come up with other ideas? And okay, wait, but we're not thinking about those other ideas. And sometimes those ideas can be divinely inspired, right? So
Right.
that's part of also why we like in general as human beings we like podcasts so much, because we're listening to real conversations as opposed to lectures, which you're
Hmm.
going to in order to receive knowledge. And what's very nice about receiving knowledge is that if somebody does it well, then it's very organized, and then the ideas stick in your head. Oh, here's 5 things that will no, 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 5 ways to improve your marriage, and you're like, okay, here are the 5 ways, and I kind of walked away with my 5 ideas. So there's definitely benefits to both. There's definitely benefits to coming to something that's prepared and organized, and then there's also definitely benefits to feeling like you're in the room with the people and you're listening to the conversation that they're having, and okay, that's the way I think also. And and it's a little, they're both interesting. It's just two parts of humanity. And
Yeah. I used to be so into that flow and the go with the flow and the flexibility and this like, spontaneity that I didn't want to have structures. Like you see my podcast is structured in a way that actually works for my personality because it gives me a framework to sort of focus me, but I built it so that it could help me have that flexibility within the framework or my 4 steps to creating flow, which is the calm method. Once I created it and once I sat down and really got that download, it's totally divine because I could not have done it better. It's like blows my mind every time I teach it how helpful it is to people. It's it's something that I have in my back pocket that if I need to talk about what is the way to create flow, I know I'm going to be able to teach 4 steps. It's going to stick in people's minds and I know what I'm going to say. But sometimes I say different things, to different people. And sometimes I go on tangents or I think of examples that aren't the same examples as I gave last time. And I think that's what makes it so interesting.
yeah, I think that's great when you have kind of a general structure, and then okay, let's talk about this thing. Okay, now let's talk about this thing. Now let's talk about this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that helped me be consistent because also another thing that I believed about myself in the past is that I'm not consistent.
Hmm.
And now I just had to do this journaling prompt that my coach sent, and it was like all the ways I'm consistent. And I couldn't stop because I was so consistent about so many things, but it's not things you give yourself credit for. Like I eat every day, I sleep every day. I'm
Right.
super consistent about
Yeah.
regular things. I brush my teeth every day. But but I'm not consistent. Why do I believe that?
Right.
And there's something
Also,
that made me feel that.
I
Or
mean, you get dressed every day. You wear the headscarf every day. That's very consistent,
right.
like
Right.
very consistent. You're right. We have lots of things that it's just whether or not we built the habits or not built the habits. I think that,
And
uh,
it's deeper than the habits. I feel like it's the belief about yourself. There's perfection is going to make you feel like you're not there yet, or you're not worthy because you're not there yet, and you need to be there in order to be a certain thing. So you're not consistent if you can't get exercising every day, or you're not consistent if you can't do this, that, or the other. And it's like, but I am consistent in other things. So
right,
what is holding me back from feeling like this is true
right.
right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I'm like thinking to my own kind of thing. And that's actually something that I really got into my own head about. I'm thinking about with social media was you want to post every day. So then when when I've not been consistent with it, then I kind of beat myself up. I'm supposed to be consistent. I want to be consistent and then I can't. And then I came up with a system and I hired somebody to like keep the posts flowing and I was like, "Oh, I just needed a better system."
Right, exactly.
Oh, you could be consistent if you just have a better system. And yeah, so I think that that's also really important.
I think systems are what can save a person who has ADHD
Absolutely.
from themselves,
Can I
from
tell
like
you?
beating
Can I
themselves
tell
up.
you a system that I've discovered? Which I just came back right from South Africa, and usually I have my suitcase and I fold my clothing in my suitcase and then I travel. But then I get very overwhelmed when I have to unpack because everything's and I bought these packing cubes. They're these soft things with the zippers, and then everything is categorized. And I think that also for the ADHD brain is that the smaller the category is, the more it fits into a category, the easier it is to kind of go according to the category. And I also think that the ADHD brain, there's certain things that are just you never learn the skills. A lot of people didn't learn the skills on how to have an organized mind because I think that a lot of that stuff is taught, and I think that we a lot of us are just not undisciplined intentionally, but I think that maybe we weren't raised in a home that they taught us how to do that, or they were able to see that, okay, this child needs help understanding the concept of organization, and how can we keep working on this on a very consistent basis. And the more that I've invested in being organized, the better my life has become because the chaos ends up also having a shame cycle because you have a shame around the chaos, but it becomes hard to find things, it becomes hard to do things or remember what you want to get done that day. The more organized that we become, the better our lives become.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
And the more honest we are about what our needs are within the framework of that chaos is when, if I need you need to eat, right? But a lot of people with ADHD end up not eating, right? And then you end up tired and overweight and maybe overeating also because you're in this I didn't set up the system to eat. That's something that, over the past couple of months I started eating more. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like a human. I thought I was so tired and I'm feeling so old, and it just has to do with the eating. And maybe you're eating once every 3 days because you're forgetting and you're in like and I prioritize eating and I lost like 35 pounds. And I didn't really change anything except for that I started eating.
Right. And then your brain is working better, and then your muscles are working better. Everything is falling into place. And you're like, really? It was just that? But yeah, totally. I think also the fact that I have this belief that it has to be consistent or perfect, or I need to do it this way because that's how other people do it,
Right.
has been so detrimental to my own
So
organization,
detrimental. Right.
to my
And
own life, to
right.
my own way of doing
Right.
things.
So, and if I decide that I want to do something, or if I want to be consistent about something, or I want to create a new habit, and I mess up, right? So this is the kind of like the all or nothing thinking, right? I'm on a diet. I'm eating a certain way. I don't eat gluten, let's say, or I don't eat sugar, and then I'm at something and I end up eating something with sugar. I'm like, okay, that's it, never again. Like I'm not on the diet anymore. And I used to have this black or white thinking a lot. I would be, okay, I'm so strict about what I'm eating. I'm so strict about being on keto, and or for example, because there was a while that I was on keto, and then I had one day that I ate something that was, I don't know, potato or whatever it was, and then I couldn't get back on. I couldn't get back on because in my mind I was like, okay, you are or you aren't. But the fact is that the more we forgive ourselves and we just say, okay, I needed that at that moment, and I'm going back to the thing. There's no such thing as perfection. We're all in a process. We're
Right.
all in process. There's Nobody is going to be perfect all the time. Nobody. And the truth is that, yes, maybe I think the food thing is like a really good example, because when we eat well and consistently, then we feel really good and our brains work really good and we just function better as human beings. But that doesn't mean that you have to throw everything out the minute that it doesn't work for you for a day or whatever it is.
Right. I love that you're talking about the practical things, because really, for all of our listeners, they know it all in their heads. They're like, perfectionism is ruining my life and I need to blah, blah, blah. And even that, like, I need to.
Right.
Nobody's making you. You want to. You want to feel better. So make sure you eat and make sure you make yourself a system for what you're eating when and what's available for you and who's feeding you, you know? Like, for me, my husband makes me breakfast every single morning, because I have said this on my podcast before. It's very, slightly embarrassing to think like, oh, you can't feed yourself. But I want to get the kids out of the house. I want to do the things I need to do. I want to pray in the morning. And then by the time I get to making food, I don't really feel like cooking
Right.
anything. I'll just look around to what there is already, and then I'll grab
Pick
whatever there
around.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not good for me. So my husband makes fish and jumped vegetables every single day. Jumped vegetables, for all you non Bat-Chen people, is the vegetables that are sautéed, because when they're jumped, right, they like get this nice
Yeah. Yum.
thing. Yum. So every single day I have fish in the morning with vegetables, and I actually have a real meal. And then anything I eat from that point on is extra. It's like
It's
nice, you know?
benefit. It's bonus. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I also like the minute that I started prioritizing breakfast, it changes everything. It changes the way your entire life works. And also, I started doing something that I heard in a podcast about women's health, is that I have, right when I wake up, within like the first 20 minutes, I have 3 Brazil nuts.
Mm,
It's very important for women and our metabolism, and obviously this is another tangent, but it's very important for women to eat right away when they wake up, like really right away, and get those healthy fats. I ate 3 Brazil nuts, and that was also part of whatever. Like I said, I had a 35-pound weight loss, and I work with somebody to kind of get me understanding that I have to keep eating. But
right. Because if not, your body is in this war.
yeah,
There's
right,
war, there's famine.
yeah, exactly. Your body freaks out, and so many of us are not consistent around food. And okay, fine, whatever. We're never going to be perfect beings. Like that's not the point.
Yeah, I once had there's this guy here who's very into health and healing and all that great stuff. And anytime he gave any class, he would start the class by saying 80-20 rule. If 80% of the stuff you eat is, let's say, whole grain and lower sugar intake and whatever it is, then give yourself permission to have the 20% junk, because your body is going to be able to deal.
Right.
Trust your body's system that it can deal. The 80-20 rule is so great because it gives you permission to sort of like have healthy things available at home, but also when you go out of the house, you could eat whatever you want, or allow yourself to fluctuate through all the different foods without feeling that guilt or,
And I think that that fits in with business, and it fits in with us, and it fits in with our perfectionism. So when we're saying, okay, and what happens when you have a slow day, right? Like we're like, I'm a perfectionist. I have this goal. I need to create this ecosystem or whatever the thing is that I'm trying to create. I need to create it, right? And what happens? You have a day that like you're not as on as you are. You're not as functional. You're not as like going, and you don't have as much drive. Okay, fine. You know, like as long as it's not, I mean, as long as it's not, and even if you need a few days, right? Sometimes we need a few days to kind of decompress or to kind of to rest or, don't allow yourself to get pulled into the trap of I should or I need to. The more that we get intuitive and we listen to ourselves and what do I need and what do I need in order to support myself, the faster we get healthier when we're sick, the faster things flow for us because we have to be clear. We have to be clear, and it's okay to say, I can't make a decision now, and we can't be perfect without time, right? Like I'm saying we can't ever be perfect, but like the sometimes we need time to rest and we need time to process, and don't just never allow yourself to get pulled into the shaming of yourself for not being perfect or not fitting into the box of perfectionism that you've created in your mind, because
Yes.
because we all need different things, and we all also function very differently in terms of energy. I talk about this a lot about how women were cyclical, right? We have different times of our month that we're like on, and other times that we're totally like we really need to rest. And men are kind of they're a lot more consistent, right? And even within women, okay, so some people are more this, more that. And so the more we learn to respect the fact that perfectionism doesn't exist, there is only what do I need in order to support this being that is me in this universe. What does this body need? What does this body need? What does this soul need? What does this human need? What do I need from my relationships? What do I need from my business? What do I need from my children? What do I need from God? And I think that, that kind of that's the way that's the opposite, right? Of the opposite of like the perfectionism is what do I need? And how can I support myself to continue to do this thing that I believe in or that I want? And it's all of it's okay, and just kind of recognizing that it's all okay. It's okay to need rest. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to sometimes eat junk. It's okay to, everything is okay. What is the thing that you are the most coming back to, that this is important, and this is, getting recentered, and okay, this is important to me. This is what's important to me, and just kind of and just going for it. And if it doesn't come out perfect, then try again.
Right. I love that. If it doesn't come out the way you want, try again.
I,
This
uh,
was amazing. Amazing. I'm sure we could keep talking about it forever, but I really love how you wrapped up perfection for us. And especially now, we're in the season of Hanukkah and everything is sort of like lighting up the world. For you to be able to light up, you cannot hold yourself down with perfection. You really have to let go of anything that isn't serving you. And trying to spend 3 hours on some little detail that maybe isn't even necessary is
maybe
not
not even
going to.
important. Yeah.
What?
Maybe not even important.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually what trips us up. So let yourself do things messy and just go for it. And I think that's really going to be where things start to really shine and break through. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad that we worked this. By the way, I also want to say to everyone as we're closing this up, she Bat-Chen messaged me and she said, "When can we do a podcast?" And she's like, "How about right now?" How about right now? And I was like, I don't know. I just got home and just and right now because the kids are gonna go on. Now is better. Jumping on something now is better than saying let's do it next week or let's do it a month from now or maybe sometime in the future. This is what I want to talk about. Get on the call now. And I was like, okay, let's do it. But I'm so glad that we did. I'm so glad we did because perfectionism is just it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you like thought you'd have to prepare and you'd have to think it through? Like this golden stuff would not have come out if you had to brain it, you know?
Yeah.
I love it.
All
How
right.
can people find you?
So I am Ariella Zeitlin Music on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. AriellaZeitlin.com. ARIELLAZEITLIN. Most of what I share is music, and I also share sometimes like coaching stuff and ideas, kind of along these lines. And yeah, and I've got lots of music on Spotify too. So if you like the violin, there's lots of music out there.
Yes, and you are good. Thank God. It's all from Hashem, but you did a great job practicing. I remember. Thank you so much for being with us, and
All
thank
right.
you for
Talk again.
listening. Don't forget to be connected for real.